Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Stitchin Post. I'm Nancy. I'm here with Val, and this is Knitting with Nancy. Hi, Val. Oh, she's taking coffee. Sorry, I got her in her coffee mode. I wanted to show some new product today, some product we've had, but I wanted to talk about patterns. I have a customer who's come in, and she's working a pattern from this book. I'm going to hold it up. It's the Amano book. We do have it online. It's probably one of my favorites from Amano in that it has so many patterns for so many of their yarns. I'm showing two of the yarns that we have of theirs. The Apu, this is the Marguerite cowl, which if you haven't felt, seen, worn, you are missing out. Let me tell you, this alpaca is spectacular. It's a beautiful pattern. It isn't hard. It is easy. I know I'm getting all confused. Probably not enough coffee. So those are the current colors we have. We will be ordering more of the Apu. The yarn I'm showing you now is Awa. It is a blend. It comes in some beautiful colors I've listed there. It's 328 yards for $17.60. So you can't beat the yardage and the price. It is, I want to read the 55% baby alpaca, 26% merino wool, and 19% cotton. It is a chained yarn, and it's really, really squishy. So it just feels wonderful to knit with. I am doing a different pattern, and it's interesting. She brought this in to ask me questions about it because the pattern wasn't lining up correctly and she wasn't understanding it. I had it marked and now my marker fell out. Here we go. So it's called the Carolina Shawl, and I actually have emailed the author of it, now I forget her name, Martha Wissing, to ask her about her pattern, because nobody on Ravelry, and this is something I want to talk about, whenever I have, and here's the name of it, a pattern that there's a question about, I go to Ravelry and see who else has done this pattern, and if they find any issues in it, one that I'll know ahead of time. But let me get to the big page and see if you can't, excuse me, get a close-up of this patterning here. This one. And so can you see how these cables...
Oops, sorry, people. It's connected again.
Of it. And when she came in, she had 3 distinct cables. So we knew that somewhere she got off. And another thing is her increases looked kind of funny. So I want to go over a little bit when designers write things and they have people do them, sometimes we can reinterpret it. So this particular shawl is a 16 row up to here repeat that has increases every 4th row. And we'll put that on the floor for now. The pattern has 2 cable rows, one on row 8 and one on row 16. And if the cable panel, which is only 44 stitches here, it states a row 8 cable pattern and row 16, which is different. Yet in the actual shawl pattern, when you get to row 16, it says work row 8 of the cable pattern. And then repeat those 16 rows. So my question to the designer and who the customer had to me was, then why do you have row 16 in the cable pattern? Because you're dealing with two patterns here. And let me bring this back over. So it's doing two things at once. So I went ahead and started my sample, and I disregarded row 16 of the shawl pattern where it said use row 8 of the cable, and I put in row 16 of the cable. And
it's working.
And it seems to be working. To me, if I get back to this page, and I kind of wanted to ask everybody's opinion, what they thought. Because I think if we get close-ups, it works.
Challenge yours. And theirs. I think it looks the same.
So that tells me that there's a mistake in the written pattern. Nobody else caught it because they didn't follow it directly. They followed rows 1 through 16 of the cable, so none of them made the connection to what was row 8 or row 16 of the shawl. Now the next thing I want to go over is when they talk about a make one. And in this particular pattern, I'm going to close this up, and in other patterns, they talk about, for instance, a 16-row repeat, of which every 4th row, they tell you where to do your increase. But, and let me explain the but, if you then are repeating these 16 rows again and again and again and again and again for what this says 23 times, your increase, if you follow as written, is going to be sporadically through your knitting. And it's going to look funny. If you read on it, each time they came to an increase, it was right before the end marker on the right side, and it was an increase, make one, in pattern. So thus, sometimes purl, sometimes knit. So you need to be aware that although the designer and author didn't say always do your increase before the marker, we need to insert that into the pattern. Because if you do make ones throughout here, it is going, can you see this rib line here? It's going to disrupt that pattern because you are increasing in the middle of this as opposed to where you start here at the end. So what I wanted to go over today, and if anybody has questions, is when a pattern is written, do you have to follow it exactly as written? Because you have to use sometimes some, and I don't want to say common sense, because any beginner knitter is going to read a pattern exactly as written, which is what we all do. It's only with experience do you start to read your stitches. And I talk a lot about reading your stitches, knits versus purls, and looking at the pattern and looking at the row below. But it's, again, it's that experience that will let you know that you need to change where you do that increase. Or you need to reach out to your store. So if it's not us, because you're in Arkansas, for instance, reach out to your local store. Ask those questions, because if it doesn't look right to you, most likely it's not right. And there is a glitch somewhere. And those who wrote it and the editors might not know it. She might have written the pattern and written it correctly, but the editors who put it in a magazine or in a book inadvertently missed it, and copy editors then didn't catch it. And we, as the public, knitting or crocheting, have to pick it up, or sewing, because this happens in a lot of different crafts, embroidery. We're human. No one's perfect. We're all human. We all make mistakes. But we want our items that we create looking the best. And so if it doesn't look good and you're only this far along, stop. Ask questions, because you don't want to put in all the effort and come at the end and go, ew, wait, it doesn't look like the pattern. And assuming that you did something wrong, because you might not have. You followed it word for word as written. So that's my little spiel today. I want to show you some other new items that we have. Some of you have heard me talk about Walker bags before and how much I love these. They are from California. I use these for all my notions, knitting, for sewing as well, so anything. I like this one because it's got double zippers here, so I can keep stuff here and stuff bigger things back here. These I use for projects. I use this one actually for notions as well, but this starts for my socks. I love this size. I like that they do stand. Watch, I can't stand it now, but when I have stuff in it, it stands on its own. So I really like the wedge shape. We also got in these wonderful bags. They are zippered on top. They have 2 pockets here, but what's really nice is they have 2 big pockets. I don't know if Val can look in. We're going to peek inside. So you can carry things inside separate. And it's fun because these just fit in and they work really well. So I encourage you to look at these up on our website. They are all up online now, but they're really beautiful. They're made in California, so they're USA made. I love the quality of the mesh. I've had mine for years and years and years. I just keep buying more because I have more projects. The other new, I know Val's laughing at me, but that's okay. The other new things I had to bring over, and we're not sure if these are up on our website yet. These are tea towels. And you know, I'm not a tea person per se, or a tea towel, but I love this. They are so lovely.
Use them as kitchen towels. What do you
Well, I am, but I'm keeping them away from my husband, because if your husband's like mine, he'd get tomato sauce on them, and I don't like to ruin them. But they're beautiful. I had some ladies in this weekend buying them. On Sunday I worked, and she brought one, and she said, they're my guest room towels in the guest bath. But then we have notepads and note cards, which I think are really cute. And then the glass jars. I know it says it's a specimen collector. I just like containers and things to put beads in and cute little tins. And it is great. So we're not sure if these are up on the website, but I did want to show them to you today. Just because if you're like me, you have to have them. So give us a call even, and we can ship them out to you or charge them up, and you can come pick them up here in the store. That was pretty much what I wanted to go over today. I don't know if you have any questions. I know last week we talked about gauge. To just add a little side note, when you're doing a shawl, on it, you do want to also pay attention to gauge. I did it more for sweaters, but this particular pattern is reversible, so the cables show up on both sides, which is really nice. So it'll be a double-sided garment or shawl. But you do want to pay attention to gauge, because if you're too loose or too tight, it won't have that drape that you want. So I hope you all have a great day. Get your shots, please. We want everything to be opened and safe. And we'll see you next week. Have a great day. Bye.